We've got to tell the Irish government that they, who have no money at all, must bail out these banks. The Irish government said, how are we going to do that? No problem, no problem. We'll get the European governments to, here we go now, stick it to their own people, raise the taxes, lower the spending, austerity, to free up the money that we will lend to the Irish government to give them the wherewithal to bail out, to take over the debts of the Irish banks. Because it flies politically to have the European governments help a fellow nation in trouble, Ireland. At first, you just got to take the debts of the Irish banks and make them the debt of the Irish public and the Irish Republic. So that's accomplished by the way, the Irish government didn't want to do it, made it crystal clear if you watch the news. They don't want, no, we don't. You have to. If you don't, then we will condemn you, we will make you such a pariah. You think your political, what's his name, the fellow who's the head of Ireland?
Cowan.
You think your life his days are numbered. Anyway, but you think your life is difficult. If we shut everything down and Ireland literally collapses in over 2 days, you'll be hunted in the street. You know, your life will be a problem, not your political career. So that's your choice. We wipe you out immediately, or you die slowly. And Mr. Coward, like Mr. Papandreou, chose the route of dying slowly, hoping for a miracle along the way, as most of us would. So the Irish government took over the debts of the Irish banks. Very important you understand that. They simply took them over. We, the Irish government, will guarantee the debts of the Irish banks. So now it becomes the debt of the Irish government. How is the Irish government going to get this? Because there's billions and billions that are going to have to be made good here of money that the Irish banks owe that the government is going to pay for them. So where's the government going to get it? It's going to get a loan from the European governments. The European government, the European Union, and the IMF are helping together, lending all this money to Ireland. But of course they can justify to their people, we're helping a fellow country in difficulty. That sounds sort of reasonable. But even that doesn't fly. The mass of people in most European countries, they do not want to get hurt to help the Irish. All due respect, they don't care that much about the Irish. They don't care that much about the Greeks. If you look at the popularity ratings of the leading European politicians, Merkel in Germany, Sarkozy in France, they're awful. They look like George Bush in the last months of his term. Nobody wants these people. And part of their problem is they're seen as imposing austerity on their own people to bail out banks, foreigners, people like Irish people, Polish people, Hungarian. It's not popular. Not popular. So how do you fix this? How do you work this out? Here's what you do. You say we're helping another country. Helping another country. That's very popular. And here comes the punchline. We are not financing their good living. We're going to show you that we're really making them suffer. You're not being taxed to allow Greek people to, drink ouzo and sit on the beach. You're not being taxed to help the Irish live in like kings and queens. No. We're going to take your money to bail out us. We're going to pretend it's for the Irish Republic, and we're going to punish them. Ireland has an unemployment rate now of, 15% or something like that. Greece has one up in that neighborhood. The Irish have already had 3 years of austerity. Much more is coming. All kinds of, same thing in Greece. This is a program in showing we're going to help these poor, but we're really going to hit them. And so that's the solution. And that is designed to keep the lid on the mass of people from revolting for all this. That's how this is being choreographed. And it's understood. If you read the top financial press, it's all there. You don't need, I'm not making up some analysis. I'd love to claim credit. I'm just reporting to you what they say. They know their problem is, as it is in this country, how the mass of people react to this. That's the issue. We can finagle and futzel around, we can save ourselves, but it all depends on whether the mass of people go along with it. And we will do whatever it takes to keep that from blowing up on us. And the anxiety about investing in Europe is simply the question in the minds of all currency players in the world today. Will the Europeans be able to pull this off? Will it be possible to prevent the German people from basically turning on Merkel and saying, you're out of here because we don't want an austerity that is supporting those people over there, the Greeks and the Irish and so on? Will the French overthrow Sarkozy with the same claim? If they do, if these governments can't bail out, then the question is, what in the world is going to happen? You should be aware, the Irish debts of the banks, like the debt of Greece as a government, is overwhelmingly held in the hands of the biggest European banks. The people in trouble, if these governments default or can't pay, are the richest countries of Europe. That's why they're holding together. They understand that. If Greece stops paying, German banks collapse. And what it costs to save Greece is this. What it would cost to save the German banking system is this. It's a simple calculation. It's better for us to spend 300 billion or 600 billion or $1 trillion on these little countries out here because we're into them so long that we can't survive their failure. You had a question in the back, sir. You had your hand up before.
I had a couple of questions. You were talking about ones that's in prudent lending with all the banks. Do you think that would happen if we still had like a gold or silver standard? And if we had like if the U.S. didn't break their Bretton Woods agreement, like if there was more control of the money, because it seems like money is just dished out for control. It's not really. It's more like the people with money use money as it is now to buy up other businesses, corporations buy up other corporations, to control smaller governments, to stuff like that.
Right. The problem, absolutely, that's how they use the money, but that's how they use the gold standard too. So the retreat to the gold standard, go back to the gold standard, doesn't change that problem because then it becomes a struggle over who has the gold. A very small number of countries now control most of that gold. If you actually went to a gold standard, they would then be in the driver's seat. You can actually already see the anxiety around the world about how all of this is playing out. I want to remind you, we just scratched the surface of the fragility of the European economy. We talked a little bit earlier about the fragility of this one. The loans are not being made into American businesses because the economy here is too questionable. You may read all the time about recovery, but the bottom line is we don't have much of a recovery, and most businesses know that, and that's why they're not moving the way they are. There is no private housing market anymore. All mortgages are paid for by the government. The government is the owner of, it's bought up 98% of all mortgages written for the last 18 months. So I mean, this is a government-sustained, fragile economy. So around the world, people are going, wow, the United States is a fragile economy. It is borrowing like crazy, printing money like crazy, trying to get out of its hole, not doing a very good job of it. The situation in Europe is a chaos. The Japanese, the second biggest capitalist country, are back in the depression they were only out of for about 6 months. I mean, a 20-year depression. So China is growing, but that looks very fragile too, what's going on there. So everyone is going, my goodness, I better buy some gold because it's the only thing that isn't in some kind of dilemma, which is, by the way, fanciful thinking since gold is a very dangerous thing. But if you watched, I believe it's now around $1,400 a pound, an ounce, and that's a major increase over a short period of time. Not as high as gold has gone if you adjust for the prices over time, but it's a sign of anxiety. It's not so much that people believe in gold, it's that they don't believe in anything else, and so having a little gold becomes prudent rather than not having a little gold, even with the problems of gold. But you're seeing all these signs of a fundamental insecurity and anxiety that comes from so many countries in so much difficulty, so that even the strong ones are a question mark. Someone asked me before we started tonight, what do I invest in, or that usual question. And I said to her, you know, all my friends, including right-wingers that I know in Wall Street, everyone scratches their head and has no idea. This is the most, well, there's no precedent. Nothing comes out of our history to kind of tell us what to do. For every person saying buy something, there's another one saying sell it. Nothing is secure. You don't know what you got. You can't trust any of the information. I mean, it's really bad and chaotic at a time. Those are all signs of a system in a serious kind of jeopardy that no one knows how to deal with. Okay? One last thing about Europe before we move on to a different topic. It's not just Greece in the way I described, or even Ireland. It's several other countries, at least the following. And there's a nasty, what's the acronym? PIGS. Portugal, Italy, Greece, and Spain, which is inaccurate because those are not the worst ones, and it excludes others that are terrible.